Hi there, Pisces sun sign. I am Raina, and this video is about 3 things that you should know for 2021. I came up with this idea earlier today. I think I had already been kicking around in my head for a while. Just kind of like bringing up transits that I don't typically bring up when I do monthly readings, because I just did a reading for you for February of 2021, and I do them every month, but I don't talk about everything. And I think you'll find this interesting. So the first thing I put down is that Jupiter is briefly going into Pisces, and this is going to be from May 13th until July 28th. And during this time frame, Jupiter will go retrograde. I did not write down the exact, or type it out, the exact date it's going to retrograde during this, I call it mid-year, but, in the northern hemisphere, the summer period. But during that time, it goes retrograde, and then after July 28th, it goes back into Aquarius, where it stays in Aquarius for the rest of the year. And then on December 28th, goes into Pisces for good. For good, meaning for the transit, which I would imagine will be, would be through most of 2022. So this means that you are going to briefly have Jupiter in your sign, and that can be, well, actually, it's not even that brief. I mean, 2.5 months is a pretty decent amount of time, and, during a whole year, and something to look forward to in 2022. So this can expand your world in some way, and it can make you luckier. It can, give you the ability to be at the right place at the right time, and just maybe be more positive in general. Jupiter is the ancient ruler of Pisces, so there is a connection between Jupiter and Pisces. Okay, so that's the first thing. Number 2, Neptune is in your sign. Now, this is not something new. Neptune has been in your sign for years. It's actually been here for 10 years, since 2011. And the exact date that it entered Pisces was February 3rd, 2011. So we're coming up on 10 years. It's going to stay in your sign for 5 more years until 2026, January of 2026 to be exact. So needless to say, this is a long-term transit. Generational. And in your sign, Pisces, because it's your ruler, Neptune, it's in its own sign, and you experience it different than other signs do. Neptune gets a bad rap from the reading material that I have read. Surprise is surprise, I'm reading material. And it really does seem like there's a emphasis on chaos and dissolving and delusion and all these kinds of things. And Neptune is very idealistic and imaginative, intuitive, or you could say downright psychic and things like that. And of course, since it's in your sign, it's going to enhance that for you. Now, because the sun represents our sense of identity, there is a chance that this can exacerbate any possible issues that you already possess when it comes to trying to find yourself or understanding who you are. We would look deeper in the chart, in the natal chart, if you have your natal Neptune in the 10th house of career, or even in the 6th house of work, like I do, which can, indicate spiritual type of service to others. But because this tends to be a narrow road, or artistic work, it's something that you may find yourself traveling down that road at a later date in life after you've exhausted other avenues, because this is not, these kinds of career aspirations are not generally supported in our mainstream society. Even artists are not necessarily supported. They might be appreciated after the fact, but you won't get a lot of high school counselors that encourage people to become artists. They will tend to, do other kinds of professions where it can be a paint by numbers, where you take certain courses and get those pieces of paper, those credentials, and then you can get those jobs. But the artistic road and the spiritual roads are very open-ended, and so there's not like a cookie cutter plan of action to achieve those goals. So if you have a square between your Sun in Pisces and Neptune, that can also indicate having, or even an opposition, that can indicate having a bit of a conflict or issue between knowing who you are in the world and things like that. And so the key is to override some of those, this kind of a transit, or use it to your advantage is even better, where you can tune into yourself at a deeper psychic level by doing self-inquiry, which is a process I would call self-inquiry a type of active meditation that is kind of like the process of elimination, where you're getting to the root of what is going on. Because a lot of times when you really sit with yourself and figure out why you are having a particular conflict, it will boil down to something that has an emotional nature, like being afraid of rejection, being afraid of, even in some cases, success, feeling like undeserving of these things, but also afraid of disapproval. And, if you are trying to do something that is not accepted in your social circle or something like that. So it really can help you to know thyself, ironically. If you accept that you are that you are a spiritual being, regardless of what you do for a living. You might be a scientist and be a spiritual being. Some Pisces people, I think, do reject the spiritual because they're afraid of it. They're afraid maybe they've had psychic experiences which were unnerving, and so it's more comforting to just really focus on the finite in life, the material side of life, because it feels more grounded, it feels more exact than kind of that, the world of the spirit. And some of you may have like a lot of Aquarius, even though Aquarius is very intuitive as well, but that kind of skepticism or analytical side that has to quantify everything. So this can give you that spiritual mojo, not that you need it, to kind of like improve your life in some way. And then the third thing I wrote is that your 11th house is emphasized. And I discussed this in the February forecast, but basically your 11th house is Aquarius, and you have Jupiter and Saturn there, and they're going to be there all year. Well, of course, I told you about Jupiter. It's going to briefly go into your sign, but for most of the year, it's going to be in that 12th house. Oh, I said 11th house. I meant your 12th house. And you rule the 12th house. That's the significance that I was trying to say, is that Aquarius in earlier in the year, and I'm recording this in late January when the sun is there, Mercury is there. In February, Venus is going to be there. There's going to be a new moon there in February. And there is going to be like a double, 2 full moons, which means that the second one is a blue moon in the July-August period. So there's just like this unusual emphasis of Aquarius, and for you, the 12th house. Now, having that double full moon can be especially important because the 12th house can be the loose ends, the kind of it's the last house of the zodiac, so it's the endings that we have in life, in different areas of life, and being able to gain closure in these areas, create closure ourselves, so that when we go back to the first house, it's that never-ending circle or cycle, then we are starting anew with a whole new cycle. So that seems to me that you're going to be really focused on the spiritual in this year, having that 12th house emphasized for you. And it's also going to be a time to let go of things, or maybe this can be the grace of God that these, especially during those full moons in Aquarius, that this happens naturally, that you're able to let go of any addiction or other self-defeating pattern that has been plaguing you, that you're able to finally let go of it and feel free to move on. And of course, those karmic entanglements, those relationships that feel fated, that feel like they really are meant to be, but they are disasters, and so there's like, sometimes people feel like, oh man, I really feel like I know this person, I've known this person forever, but we have such a difficult relationship, and it's, causing problems in my life, but I don't know how to let it go. And this can perhaps give you that ability to have that happen in one way or the other. So anyway, Pisces, I just want to give you a few things to think about. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like me to look at your natal chart, the link is below for the type of readings I offer. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.